Sirens. Spotlights slice through smoke. Thousands of guns flash at once. Tanks surge forward, and a capital city turns into a concrete trap. Tonight, you're not watching the end of a war. You're watching the final hunt for the heart of the Third Reich. By the end of March 1945, Nazi Germany was collapsing. From the east, Soviet forces reached the Oder River. From the west, American troops approached the Elbe River. And between those rivers sat Berlin, the capital, the symbol, the prize. Whoever seized it first wouldn't just claim victory in Europe. They could also seize what both superpowers wanted next: German scientific minds, advanced weapon designs, and the remnants of secret projects tied to the Nazi war machine. But then the story twisted. American commanders calculated Berlin would be a slaughterhouse, tens of thousands dead for a city that could be bypassed, while Germany was already dying. So the US stopped short. In late March 1945, General Eisenhower signaled to Stalin that Berlin was no longer the Western objective, and US forces would hold around the Elbe. That decision didn't calm Stalin, it accelerated him. If the West wouldn't take Berlin, the Soviets would, fast and publicly. So Stalin gave the order. The last great European battle of World War II began. The Battle of Berlin launched on April 16, 1945. Numbers favored the Soviets like a storm favors the sea. Across the Berlin offensive, the Soviets massed roughly 2.5 million troops, about 6,250 tanks, and a crushing wall of artillery. Plus rocket launchers firing Katyusha salvos that could turn districts into dust. The Germans, by comparison, had about 766,000 troops in the wider defense, and roughly 800 tanks, with fuel shortages strangling armor and air power. And Berlin's defenders weren't the old veterans anymore. Many experienced soldiers were already gone, killed across years of war. In their place, younger recruits, reorganized police and Air Force personnel, Waffen-SS units, and the desperate militia called Volkssturm, pulling in men and boys with minimal training. The city had loyalty, but loyalty doesn't stop shells. Worse for Germany, leadership was cracking. Hitler, battered by defeat, still believed Berlin could become a new Stalingrad, an urban grinder that would bleed the Soviets until they stopped. He clung to fantasy while the map tightened. The Soviet hammer was split between two giants, Marshal Georgy Zhukov attacking from the east, and Marshal Ivan Konyev striking from the south along the Nysa River. Stalin ordered both forward, and that created a second race, not just Soviets versus Germans, but Zhukov versus Konyev, each wanting the honor of Berlin. On April 16th, Zhukov crossed the Oder and hit the gates of Berlin, the Seelow Heights. German defenders held strong positions on the ridge. Soviet armor rolled into exposed low ground and paid for it. The opening assault bogged down in mud, fire, and chaos, and Soviet losses were brutal, with estimates around 30,000 killed and wounded before the heights finally cracked. Zhukov didn't retreat. He fed more force into the breach until, after days of savage fighting, Seelow broke, and the road to Berlin opened. But time mattered. While Zhukov bled on the heights, Konyev punched through faster in the south, surging toward Berlin's outskirts. And then came the power move. Stalin stopped Konyev from taking the final crown. Berlin's capture would be credited to Zhukov. Konyev, boxed in by orders and fear, held position while Zhukov closed the grip. By April 20th, Hitler's birthday, Berlin was being hammered from air and ground as Soviet guns tightened the ring. Hitler, hidden in his bunker near the Chancellery area, appeared briefly, frail, shaking, performing ceremony while the city burned. By April 24th, Soviet forces had blocked Berlin's western exits. The capital was fully surrounded. Inside were soldiers and millions of civilians caught in the trap. Nazi officials who saw the inevitable began slipping out through secret routes, carrying valuables, leaving the city to whatever fate came next. The German defense adapted to the only strategy left: turn the city itself into a weapon. Every block became a sector, every building a bunker. Anti-tank teams hid in windows, stairwells, and ruins. Berlin's streets became kill zones. The Soviets didn't send all 2.5 million into the city at once. They pushed a massive assault force, enough to crush but still forced to fight house by house. And the Germans, often inexperienced but fanatical, fought like people with no future. They preferred death over surrender. The Red Army had learned urban war the hard way at Stalingrad. Now it applied that knowledge to Berlin in reverse. Berlin's sewers, tunnels, and basements became a second battlefield. Soviet troops cut through walls, emerged behind defenders, and erased pockets of resistance, reducing neighborhoods into broken stone, turning a modern capital into a cratered maze. By April 27th, the German defense had shrunk into a tight core. The final zone held the symbolic center, the Reichstag, the Chancellery area, and Hitler's bunker nearby. German commanders warned Hitler the end was hours away. Hitler refused. The war had become personal. On the night of April 29th, Zhukov made it a promise: raise the red flag over the Reichstag, become a national hero. The assault was savage. Soviet tanks and guns pounded the structure until the defenders collapsed inward. Late on April 30th, 1945, the Soviet banner went up over the Reichstag, an image that told the world the capital was finished. And with that symbol broken, Hitler ended his story. On April 30th, he committed suicide in the bunker. On May 1st, Soviet guns unleashed overwhelming fire on the remaining Nazi positions. The final pockets had nowhere left to retreat. On May 2nd, 1945, Berlin's commander, General Helmuth Weidling, surrendered. Columns of German troops emerged from ruins, laid down weapons, and walked into captivity. Soviet casualties rose into the hundreds of thousands. Berlin's civilians died in the tens of thousands. And after the city fell, the strategic prize also appeared. German specialists were transferred into Soviet control. Europe's war ended, but the global war didn't. In Asia, Japan fought on until August 1945, when nuclear bombs hit Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Berlin was the final lock. When it snapped, the Third Reich didn't just lose a city, it lost the right to exist. But here's the question that lingers in the smoke. When a regime collapses, what happens to the people who lived under it? The battle ends, but the consequences begin.